your Sunday with us, Super Bowl Sunday, no less. I'm David Campy with Vanity Fair. We've got a lot of Oscar nominees here for this incredible film. Let's start with the composer, Mr. Daniel Blumberg. The production designer, Becker. Cinematographer, Crawley. Star of this film, Adrien Brody.
Hello.
Co-writer, Fastvold. Director and co-writer Brady Corbet. What a crew. You guys have been sharing this film for a few months now, and Brady, we've gotten to speak a bit. And one quote of yours has really stuck with me, which you said, great art often comes out of impossible situations. I feel like many who see this movie and know what went into it, know what you had, could maybe consider it a little bit impossible. So I wanted to start there. What about this movie felt possible to you, given the kinds of constraints you were dealing with in terms of making it at the scope and brilliance that you ultimately made it with?
I'm not sure what gives us this sort of like blind faith to swan dive into these projects, but it's sort of a compulsion. I would say it's sort of been our cross to bear over the course of our careers. I think every project we worked on in one way or another was about 15 to 30% more ambitious than what the market will pay for it. I mean, as I'm sure you've all been told every time you get on a sales call, for those of you in the movie industry, it's a very difficult market, and it's always a difficult market, and it's always been a difficult market, and it's especially difficult now for a variety of reasons. The way the streaming has changed our industry, of course, COVID, of course, the strikes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what I think is interesting about the films this year, whether people love the films or they hate the films, the selection of movies, they're all quite radical movies, this crop of nominees this year. And that I'm really delighted about, because for me, I think it's signaling something for the movie industry, which is that there are audiences that are thirsty for daring, original, provocative, films, and so I'm feeling a little more optimistic than I generally am. I'm pretty glass half empty about those things, but right now they're okay.
In making this film for under $10 million, as you were able to do, and the radical nature of what you were able to do, take us inside some of the maybe hard choices you had to make, the days where you had to fight for 15 minutes of the right lighting. Like, what were the points at which you felt most vulnerable, maybe as a filmmaker?
Well, I think on either side of the production process, when principal photography, that's my time. That's my time and my team's time, and we manage that. Raising money, is something that is, a very slippery bar of soap that usually slips out of your hands multiple times before projects actually come together. It's a lot of speak. And then post-production, well said, I love the process. Of course, the stress that, you know, that the powers that be may try to make an exquisite corpse of your, you know, baby, that you have, you know, been trying to smuggle across the border for many years. You know, that is, you know, mentally, it can be quite torturous. I mean, Sean Baker and I were on a panel yesterday, and Sean is just the absolute loveliest guy, and a brilliant filmmaker. I really love his movie. But he was talking to me about how he didn't sleep for 3 or 4 months because he had signed a piece of paper for financing that said that he would deliver a movie at 2 hours and 10 minutes long. And the film was 2 hours and 18 minutes long. This film, on paper, was supposed to be 150 minutes long, and it's 215 minutes long. So, you know, needless to say, I really hope that, and I really encourage the film industry to, you know, show filmmakers once they agree to work on a project together that they trust us by putting it in writing. Because the thing is that if you want to really collaborate, you don't put a gun to someone's head. You want to have a dialogue. It's a collaborative process. I love to collaborate. But of course, it's human nature to be especially resistant if anyone is trying to force you to do anything. And of course, given what this film is about, it felt truly silly to even be having those conversations, because it felt like, you know, it had gone over some folks' heads. So I'm just very honored to have such great partners in A24 who have released this film exactly as it was intended, and at Universal International as well, who like really did not flinch when they saw the film. And I'm very grateful. I think it's the reason the companies like, you know, A24 and Neon are you know, they are what they are, and I think that they're the future of the medium from my point of view.
For all of this film's thematic power, technical mastery, Mona, I really do think of this film as an incredibly poignant character study. I'm just curious, where did Laszlo come from, and what was the process between you and Brady of building this character out in such tremendous detail?
Well, he's many things. He is it's a little bit of, you know, in some ways a little bit inspired by my grandfather, who was an architect, a little bit by Brady's uncle, who was an architect as well, and then of course, as Brady said, this is the closest we will ever get to making a film about making a film. So there's a little bit of us and Laszlo as well, I would say. You know, you have to have you have to have an ego in order to want to achieve something like Laszlo is attempting to achieve. And we need to have an ego in order to try and, you know, set out to make a film like this. So so we definitely, you know, but then, you know, of course, you do a tremendous amount of research, and then all of those beautiful nuances that he also has is, you know, Adrien, very much so, who brought a lot from your life and your grandfather. It's all the grandfathers all together, yeah, who brought so much from your own life as well to this character. But in the writing, it was, you know, combination of dreams and meanings and history all meshed up together.
Adrien, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I'd be happy to. I mean, I think if you have any opportunity to draw from things of truth and that help convey things authentically, you gravitate towards those as an actor. And we were in a remarkable set of circumstances, as my mother and her parents, and my grandparents on her side, fled Hungary in the 50s during the Hungarian Revolution. And that hardship of escaping war-torn Europe and coming to America, beginning again is very intimate to me and my family's history. And growing up, hearing Hungarian spoken in my grandparents' home, and just so many qualities of this immigrant experience is something that is so personal and was an opportunity for me to honor in this work and speak to, and also have so many complex truths that were available to me. The way that my grandfather spoke, certain expressions and ways he would search for words, all gave a great deal of nuance to my portrayal of Laszlo. And also my mother is a wonderful artist. Her name's Sylvia Plahi, some of you may know her work. She's a photographer and she's numerous books. Her life is really about her work and leaving behind something of great significance. And that is Laszlo's journey. That is our journey as well in an artistic life. To making a film is not dissimilar to an architectural endeavor. Brady has to deal with myriad heads of departments and creative people to bring a total vision together, much like an architect. And the work is a physical work. This is a movie on many reels of film and withstands the test of time and outlives our work. And so we're all yearning to contribute to something of meaning with artistic integrity, and that's something that's been so intimate to me my whole life.
I wanted to ask you about the real breadth that is required of this performance, just given the amount of time that the film covers, the amount of time, the running time of the film itself. There's a change in Laszlo between the intermission from Act 1 to Act 2. For you, what was that change? What was it like playing him before he's reunited with Erzsébet, an actor?
Well, there's many complex things that occur through his life and throughout the storytelling between both chapters of this film. There's a lot of personal rebuilding that I felt was essential in the first half, coming to terms with this new life in America, toiling through poverty, this disconnect between the hopes and dreams of the American dream and the reality and the harshness of that. And remarkable opportunity that came his way as well, and sense of hope and respect and creative fulfillment. So all of that wonderful complexity is something that the man experiences. And the longing for his partner, and the hope and chance of that actually happening. And then upon her arrival, there's the reality of now so beautifully depicted in the storytelling of you are reunited, and so much has passed time-wise, and so much suffering and debilitating aspects for your partner to encounter, which are quite shocking and painful, and also your own suffering, both as an artist and as a person who's endured tremendous atrocities. And now reconnecting. And so much of that is about reconnecting and her strength as a partner and what she so beautifully does in her work, Felicity's work, but what the character does to be the foundation for that family to endure, and for Laszlo as an artist to be on firm footing and to withstand all of these things pulling him down. And she enables that. And so it's about that spark of love, or the seed of love, getting nurtured and coming alive again. And it's quite meaningful. I think the most beautiful part of this storytelling, aside from all the artistry that every person on this panel has contributed, is that it speaks to life, speaks to, it's quite hopeful, but it speaks to all the hardships that so many of us endure. And it's a reminder of all of these things, and a reminder of these yearnings within us and in others. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to put that out into the world. And
Well, let's talk about this division a little bit. You and Brady revived the technology for this film.
bring down the reality. Let's get back to the nuts and bolts of it. All right,
Let's get to the camera.
Let's talk about perforation.
I was talking about that too. In other words, you were a lot of perforating going on in the movie, obviously. 8 perf, to be specific.
So you and Brady revived this technology for this film, and I thought maybe you could talk about one sequence in particular where it's really showcased brilliantly, which is the train sequence where Laszlo first arrives, reunites with his cousin, played brilliantly by Alessandro Nivola. You once described that for me as this division in all its glory. I wonder if you could maybe explain why.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, so in a way that's, it's very different to anamorphic, it's a spherical lens system, but there, in the way that people talk about anamorphic filmmaking and lenses, is that there's sort of 2 characteristics in one, and it's almost the same with the VistaVision. I mean, the VistaVision is essentially the original full-frame 35mm system, you know, the digital cinematography is emulating. So it shoots like a stills camera, essentially. It's pulling the film through horizontally, not vertically. It creates this kind of, for the same focal length lens, it creates this wider field of view. So you can have, if we're talking about that scene, whether it's the bus, you can have this real intimacy with the characters, but also this increased field of view allows you to celebrate the space as well, you know. And I think throughout the film, it does that. It showcases Judy's work and celebrates Judy's work and the world that's created, but also the performances existing within that, you know. And I think, you know, people have asked, you know, this sense of sort of grandeur that the film has. I mean, I think in many ways, and this is maybe one of the reasons that Brady wanted to explore the format, is that it does hark back to this earlier sort of 1950s, 60s period of American filmmaking, you know. And it's like if you go to a dinner party or something, you know, and not like, you know, a foot, you know, this close to someone's face all the time. You're enjoying the space and the environment and the people you meet within it. And I think that this division really achieves that.
This is a movie where I would imagine that Judy's incredible work would inform the cinematography to a great deal. So Judy, I want to just ask how you did it, but let's maybe ask a specific example and start with the library, because I think that really informs the visual language of the movie and the particular approach to brutalism in the movie. So how did you approach the library? How did you go into that?
It was a little bit born out of necessity, because the library is, I think, meant to be this very important moment in the movie where we see Laszlo as a genius for the first time, so it was very little pressure on it. It wasn't describe that specifically in the script, except that it's very modern and simple and beautiful and very contrasted with this stuffy, dusty almost, the first version of the library, which we transformed somewhat from what it was described in the script, but you know, became this Art Deco mausoleum, basically. But it really, we didn't know what it was gonna be until we went and scouted in the fall of 2022 and saw the mansion that we shot as Van Buren's mansion, and walked into this glass winter garden that it really seemed perfect for the library in terms of its location to the rest of the house and its sort of solitude and separation from the rest of the house and its size and everything about it, except for the fact that it was all glass, for me, that was difficult because you don't hang shelves on glass, it's impossible. So, you know, I had to start thinking about bookcases and where we're gonna put them and how are they gonna, you don't want all that light coming in on books, and it was, all these things were going through my head as we stood there. And I actually got the idea of the cabinets and also of angling them in the way that they are to change the shape of the room as we were standing there. And I believe that that really happened. You know, nobody's memory is accurate, right? So I'm sure mine's not 100% accurate, but I did find the little drawing I did on the spot and showed to Brady, and Slee was also there, the first AD, and well, you weren't there, but I found a little drawing and I drew the basic idea of it, which I understood. I don't know if anyone else did because I don't draw very well, but of the cabinets angling. So it was a great moment because it was solving a problem which usually takes a while to solve. And then when we came back to Hungary, I had some of my Hungarian art directors who were really great at building models, and there were quite a few in the movie, make a model of the library. And I remember that moment when Brady came in and like shown a flashlight, or your iPhone, I think, because we have a photo of it, through the dome in the ceiling, which also had to be faked because there was no aperture in the ceiling of this conservatory, into the room. It's like the scene in the movie where you see the light and Adrien walks into that circle of light and tweaks the lounge chair and the cabinets are open. That was, don't do that on set again, by the way.
Oh, no, it's not me. It's not.
Oh, it's not.
No, the sound's
Is it me?
so strange.
It's not my phone. Maybe it is. It's me?
Not me.
It's Spielberg.
Anyway, probably was me. I don't really spend a lot of time on set, so I'm not used to trying out. Anyway, so we made a model first thing in Budapest, and it looked really good. And then, of course, it got tweaked, and there were a lot of things that changed, details about it that changed. But it was one of the first things I designed that, you know, got built the way it was designed, and it was. I think the thing that really helped the inspiration that came when we were at the location was the fact that I had an inadvertent year and a half to mentally prepare for this movie because we pushed that much time from when I first got attached to it to when we actually started prepping it. And in retrospect, that was a great creative time for me because I was thinking about it during that entire period of time and hoping that the movie was actually going to happen because of how badly I wanted to do it. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling to want to do a movie so badly and you don't know, and I know Brady and Mona know this, you don't know if it's really going to happen or not, but I know Brady feels that he can make it happen. But I feel like, I don't know, it's happened so many times in my life, but in retrospect, I was like, wow, that was a great year and a half to think about this, you know, and get all these ideas, because you never have that, ever, that kind of time to let those ideas percolate, and that's a real gift, and that's something you could have on a $10 million movie, or a $5 million movie, or I guess on a $200 million movie, I'll never know, but that time is really great for ideas, and that time is free, you know, so.
And Daniel, I think you also got a lot more time than maybe the average composer would get with this film. I wanted to ask you specifically about the overture, this brilliant overture, and where the conversations about that started, what the process was like of developing that.
Yeah, Brady and I talked about the overture being this continuous piece of music quite early on. because I went to set. Well, as soon as he went into pre-production, I went and stayed with Brady. And the overture, the ship part of the overture, when Laszlo's just arriving in America, that was something that Brady wanted to shoot to music. So that was a kind of deadline for me to get a demo together. And, I had this keyboard in Brady's flat, and he would sit next to me. He was that was an occasion where we were literally sitting next to the keyboard, and he was saying, and then Laszlo goes up the stairs, and then he looks through the window, and we were sort of noting down the moments, imagining the scene before, and then literally a few days later, it was being pumped out on the film set, and these two were dancing around to it. But it's really nice because it's
Great.
you know, the a lot of the time score you kind of do after the fact, but this was really nice because it was like the camera was responding to the music.
And Brady would play it for us to like inspire us about the scene.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah.
I play all your albums off my phone.
I remember
Once
that.
I showed, when I got back from Marseille, I showed him this like cue. Yeah, exactly.
I remember he'd do that. He'd turn around.
That's
Okay.
a good invitation.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He turns around. That's wonderful directing. Honestly, that helps you. I mean, it's so important.
It was almost like a kind of like a metronome. I mean, certainly for me at the beginning of that. Sorry to jump in, but no, I mean, but just it was like that, a way of sort of calibrating the rhythm, especially with a handheld camera, and you know, and we didn't hear it all the way through because, but the beginning of the scene where Adrien is waking up in confused darkness, the crew that existed was just right there in the other room of the ship, and with the monitors and everything, and then we sort of took off together through the whole ship and up. But it was, that's how I regard it, as kind of like a metronome at the beginning to sort of set my rhythm. And
It was the first time in my life. I mean, I find like clicks in when you're recording, you use a thing called a click, which is like a metronome that makes you play in time, and that is very triggering to me because I used to play in bands and stuff. I hated that. But for this film, we used them the whole time because we wanted that like precision for some of the cues. But that metronomic sound is like from the piano, from the prepared piano. Yeah, we used it. It was like I had this sort of. I did this session in London where I recorded a piano where you mess around with the strings and then you sort of put screws and stuff in the strings and then it makes it into more of a percussive instrument. And I had I sort of brought those to Budapest, and then we used them throughout. But yeah, so I guess it was a metronome. Thank you. But I think
Really
it's,
fancy.
it is really nice. I mean, I hadn't heard you talking about this study, but like about those sort of shelving
Yeah.
things. And I was showing the pianist that I work with. For that scene, I was showing him that kind of technical system that
Yeah.
was like trying to get him to do this kind of bloom on the piano,
Oh,
relating to that.
that's cool.
But it's cool because everyone's like, you know, I'm relating to getting ideas from what you've designed,
Yeah.
and I mean, I guess it's what we're doing. But it's just I like that it was always, you know, sometimes you were shooting to music, you were moving to music, and then I'd go back, and then respond to the image afterwards. And so it makes this very fluid workflow.
It's something
Yeah.
you feel on the screen, that you're all in concert with each other, and it's, I think, what makes this film so special. We have to leave it there, but thank you all so
Thanks for
much.
coming.
Thank you very much.